Hi, so in this video we're going to cover managing your Amazon inventory. And this can get very, very complicated depending on the size of your business, how many products you have, if you do bundles. I'm just going to assume that you're a small to medium sized seller with say one to up to several hundred products, and we're going to walk through some of the best practices for Amazon inventory management. And given all the changes recently with the IPI score, and we have a video on that too if you want to learn more about that and how to improve it. But given all the changes, Amazon has reduced stock limits. So a lot of sellers have found that they just simply can't put much stock into Amazon whatsoever, maybe between 2 to 8 weeks worth of stock per product. So everyone is finding that they're needing to use a third-party warehouse. So stock management with Amazon's changed a lot in that your first shipment, really, your shipments should be going into a separate warehouse, not into Amazon. Maybe you send from a 2,000 unit order, 200 into Amazon, 1,800 into your warehouse. Why? Because Amazon's IPI score, Amazon's stock levels, basically means you can't keep much stock in Amazon without penalizing your scores. And so really what you want to be doing is having your stock all in the warehouse, 4 to 6 weeks of stock in Amazon. When that stock runs down, every 2 weeks replenishing from your warehouse to Amazon. So your warehouse now becomes your main stock management system. And there's hundreds of third-party Amazon prep warehouses out there that you can choose from. I would just go for low storage fees and just check the cost of how much it's going to cost you every time you ship a shipment into Amazon from your warehouse too, because those costs can add up, and just go for the best cost provider that's in a reasonable location to where you normally ship from for your supplies. So the next thing really to watch out for is, now that you've got your warehouse in place, you're shipping in from your warehouse. So how much inventory do you need? Well, if you're new, then you kind of want to go with the minimum you can get away with your supplier. But if you've got an existing product, really the main metric you should be looking at is how many you're selling a day. If you're selling 10 units a day or 300 a month, same thing, times 30, then that decides your shipments size, your inventory size, everything. And of course there's other factors, and we're going to go into that, but really that's what you want to be basing on. If your supplier has a lead time of 70 days for manufacturing and then 30 days for shipping, so 100 days, and you're selling 10 a day, you need at least 1,000 units on order or in Amazon so that you don't run out by the time your supplier redoes your order. So sales per day drives everything, and obviously your current inventory level. But really the formula is when your inventory equals your sales per day times how long it's going to take you to get the stock back into Amazon. That's really the minimum you should have of stock in your warehouse and in Amazon total. So let's say your lead time is 100 days, you've got 10 a day that you sell, so you at all times you need 1,000 units minimum. And then we've got lots of other factors to consider, like seasonality. Your product may be especially for the summer or especially for the winter, or you may find that there's a peak sales point around certain holidays like Christmas, or maybe it's a Valentine's type product, and so you have the seasonality there. So you've got the basic sales per day calculation, and then you also want to factor in the seasonality. If you have previous history of selling your product, great. If you don't, then it doesn't hurt to have 20, 30, 40, 50% more stock in your warehouse for the first year that you're doing something, and then you can see what the numbers look like, if it's growing or not. Yes, you don't want to get too much stock, nobody wants that. But if you're calculating based on how many you're selling per day now, and then add in a little extra to cover any extra sales or bump in seasonality, worst case, if your sales per day drop a bit, you can still sell through that product in a reasonable amount of time. And also if your sales increase, you can still sell through that product without having to worry about restocking quickly. So it doesn't hurt to just be a little bit conservative in terms of how much you think you're going to sell. But as we said before, everything is down to how long it takes you to get your stock back into Amazon. So your supplier lead time is key, and so what you really want to be doing is just checking in with your supplier, maybe like before you expect to reorder, just asking them what the lead times are like. If your lead time before was 6 weeks and now it's suddenly 10 weeks, and you ask them at the 6 week mark, you're in trouble because you've now got 10 weeks to wait, and you've only got 6 weeks of stock. So it doesn't hurt to have guidelines from your supplier as to how how long it's going to take, and even before you think you're going to need to reorder, just check in with them and see how long their lead times are and if they expect any changes in the next 3 to 6 months. And as a result of those comments of the supplier lead times, because they can swing quite wildly, if one part is or some materials are a bit late, you can really run out of stock on Amazon. So the key is to have some buffer to cover any delays. So again, we're saying being conservative. So you really want to have an extra 30 days worth of stock. So if you're selling 10 units a day, another 300 units on top of what you would normally order kept in your warehouse, or at least added to your order on top of your order, so that you have this extra buffer to cover any future delays. So really a good rule of thumb is to have about a month's worth of stock. It doesn't cover every issue, but a week or two late isn't going to kill you, isn't going to stop the product from being out of stock. The only time you have a problem is when your lead time goes over a month extra on top of what you planned for. That's when your buffer runs out. But you can manage that by increasing the price of your products, slowing down sales a little bit, and thereby making that stock last longer. But usually a 30-day buffer is going to keep your products in stock most of the time, because you've got extra. And you have to also plan for what if you sell more. If you're selling 10 units a day now and you start to sell 15-20 units a day, your buffer can be used towards that, and then in your reorder you can top it up much more. So you want to be prepared for sales slowdowns, sales increases, delays, everything with the stock you hold. That's your responsibility. So the next big factor is shipping time, and as we've seen, shipping times have gone crazy in the last year or so and have swung wildly, and costs have swung wildly as well. And especially towards the Christmas season, shipping times get extended. So you want to be factoring that into your reorder lead time. So not only asking your supplier, but also considering, is this going to be towards a major shipping season like Q4? And do I need to factor in time for that? I would say even order your stock in advance of the rushes, because it just prevents issues and prevents delays. Yes, you have to spend more cash up front, but spending cash and then selling it and getting 3x your money or 2x your money on Amazon is better than not having the stock and not making any sales. So what's the rule then? Really, it's quite simple. How long does it take to make your product? How long does it take to ship your product? Plus add a buffer into that time frame. So if it takes 70 days to make your product, 30 days to ship it, you want 100 days worth of stock times your sales per day. And with the sales per day number, I would use an average of, say, the last 30 days, or 7 days is kind of too short, 14 days is kind of too short, but the last 30 days, if you have a look at how many you've sold per day the last 30 days, how many you sold per day the last 7 days, you'll get a good indication of roughly how many you're going to be selling a day. So how long it takes to make plus ship times how many you're selling a day. Very simple. And then on top of that, add another 30 days worth of stock, just to make sure that you have buffer and coverage into your warehouse too. So that's really the simplest way to manage your stock and inventory. If you're checking it weekly, you shouldn't run into too many problems. If your sales per day suddenly jumps or suddenly drops, you can make adjustments. If you're not checking it regularly, then you're going to be surprised. But if you're on top of your inventory and looking at your metrics in a tool like Zillionaire, you'll be able to manage all of your inventory well, because you are aware of what's happening on a week-to-week basis. And so what we recommend is every Monday to check your stock, top up Amazon from your warehouse, and then place reorders for your warehouse. If you feel that your sales per day or your stock levels are too low, then you need to do that. Thank you. Are you looking to grow your Amazon business? Zillionaire is the best Amazon metrics software. It has dozens of great features, including real-time profit and loss, inventory management, Amazon PPC ad optimization, custom dashboards, and much, much more. Head on over to zillionaire.com and sign up today. The link is in the description below.